Derek Paulson had been worrying about his father for 5 years. His father's name was Raymond. He was 73 years old, and he had been farming the same 320 acres outside of Madison, South Dakota since 1971. Raymond was the kind of man who would never retire. He had told Derek that explicitly. He said he would farm until the day he died, and then someone else could figure out what to do with the land. Derek understood the sentiment. Farming wasn't just what his father did, it was who he was. But understanding didn't make Derek any less worried. Raymond was getting older. His reflexes were slower, his hearing was going, his vision wasn't what it used to be, and he was still operating the same tractor he had been running for 17 years. A 2006 Kubota M108S. It was a decent machine when it was new, but it was old now. The cab was basic, no climate control, no advanced safety features. The ROPS was a simple frame. The seat was worn down to the springs. The whole machine rattled and clanged when it ran. Derek had tried to talk to Raymond about upgrading. Raymond always said the Kubota ran fine, and there was no reason to spend money on something new. Derek lived 40 minutes away in Sioux Falls. He worked as an electrician. He had a wife and 2 kids. He visited his father every other weekend, and every time he visited, he could see Raymond aging. The way he climbed up into the tractor was slower. The way he gripped the steering wheel was tighter. Raymond had developed a tremor in his left hand. Nothing severe, but noticeable. Derek had suggested that maybe it was time to bring in some help. Hire a part-time operator. Let someone else do the heavy work. Raymond had dismissed it. He said he didn't need help. He said he could handle the farm just fine. Derek didn't push. His father was stubborn. Pushing only made him dig in harder. But Derek couldn't stop thinking about it. He couldn't stop imagining the phone call he was going to get one day. The call that said his father had been in an accident, that the tractor had rolled, that Raymond had been pinned, that he was in the hospital, or worse. Derek lay awake at night running through scenarios, and the more he thought about it, the more he became convinced that the only way to protect his father was to get him into safer equipment, whether Raymond wanted it or not. In December 2022, Derek started researching tractors. He wasn't looking for something huge. Raymond's operation didn't need big horsepower. He was running a small diversified farm, some corn, some hay, some cattle. What Raymond needed was something modern, something with a fully enclosed cab, climate control, a comfortable seat, better visibility, easier controls. Derek wanted a machine that would make his father's work less physically demanding and less dangerous. He spent hours online looking at specs. He visited dealerships on his lunch breaks. He talked to salesmen. He narrowed it down to a few models. And then he found the Massey Ferguson 4709. 95 horsepower, efficient 4-cylinder engine, modern cab with air conditioning and heating, ergonomic controls, advanced safety features. It was perfect, compact enough for Raymond's operation, modern enough to make the work easier, safe enough to give Derek peace of mind. The price was $58,000. Derek didn't have that kind of money, but his father did. Raymond's farm was debt-free. He owned the land outright. He had savings. He could afford a new tractor if he wanted one. He just didn't want one. Derek made a decision in early January 2023. He was going to buy the tractor for his father. As a surprise, he would order it, have it delivered, and present it to Raymond as a gift. A way of saying thank you for all the years of hard work. A way of making the farm safer. A way of ensuring that Raymond could keep doing what he loved without Derek constantly worrying that the old Kubota was going to kill him. Derek knew his father would protest. He knew Raymond would say it was too much money and that the Kubota was fine. But Derek also knew that once the tractor was sitting in the yard, once Raymond climbed into that cab and felt how much easier it was to operate, he would come around. He would see that it was the right move. Derek convinced himself of this. He had to, because what he was about to do required conviction. Derek went to Horizon Agricultural Equipment, a Massey Ferguson dealership in Brookings, on January 11th, 2023. He met with a salesman named Todd. Derek explained the situation. He said he wanted to buy the Massey Ferguson 4709 as a surprise for his father. Todd said that was a great idea. He pulled up the order form. He asked for the buyer's information. Derek hesitated. He knew that financing a tractor required a credit check and a signature from the person whose name would be on the loan. Derek's credit wasn't great. He had some debt from a home renovation that had gone over budget. He didn't think he would qualify for financing on his own. But his father's credit was excellent. Raymond had never carried debt, never missed a payment on anything. His credit score was probably in the high 700s. Derek made a decision in that moment that he knew was wrong, but he did it anyway. He gave Todd his father's name, Raymond Paulson. He gave Todd his father's social security number. He had access to that information because he helped his father with taxes every year. Todd ran the credit check. It came back approved. Excellent credit, no issues. Todd printed the financing agreement, $58,000 at 7.8% interest over 5 years. Monthly payment of about $1,150. Todd handed Derek the paperwork and a pen. Derek looked at the signature line. It said Raymond Paulson. Derek picked up the pen. He knew this was fraud. He knew he was forging his father's signature. He knew it was illegal, but he told himself it was for the right reason. He was protecting his father. He was making the farm safer. Raymond would understand eventually. Derek signed his father's name. The signature wasn't perfect, but it was close enough. Todd didn't question it. He processed the paperwork. He said the tractor would be built and delivered in approximately 16 weeks. Estimated delivery date, early May 2023. Derek shook Todd's hand and walked out of the dealership. He felt a mixture of relief and guilt. He had just committed fraud, but he had also just bought his father a tractor that might save his life. Derek didn't tell anyone what he had done. Not his wife, not his siblings, certainly not his father. He kept it secret. He planned to reveal it in May when the tractor arrived. He imagined the scene. He would call his father and tell him to come outside. Raymond would walk out of the house and see the Massey Ferguson 4709 sitting in the driveway, bright red, gleaming in the sun. Derek would hand him the keys and say it was a gift. Raymond would be shocked, maybe angry at first, but then he would climb into the cab and he would feel the difference. The comfort, the ease, the safety, and he would forgive Derek for doing it without asking. Derek played this scene in his head dozens of times over the next few weeks. It became a source of comfort. He was doing the right thing. He was sure of it. February passed. Derek visited his father twice. Raymond seemed fine. He was still running the Kubota, still doing all the work himself, still insisting he didn't need help. Derek didn't say anything about the tractor. He just watched his father move around the farm slower than before, and he felt reassured that the Massey Ferguson was on its way. March came. Derek got an email from Todd at the dealership. The tractor was in production. Everything was on schedule. Delivery was still estimated for early May. Derek felt a surge of anticipation. 2 more months. Then his father would be in safer equipment. Then Derek could stop worrying every time the phone rang. On March 19, 2023, Derek was at a job site wiring a commercial building when his phone rang. It was his mother. She was crying. Derek's chest went cold. She said Raymond had been out in the field that morning, disking ground with the Kubota. A neighbor had driven past around 10 a.m. and seen the tractor stopped in the middle of the field, engine still running, but Raymond slumped over the wheel. The neighbor had called 911. The ambulance had taken Raymond to the hospital in Madison. The doctors said he had suffered a massive stroke. Derek dropped everything. He drove to the hospital. His mother was in the waiting room. His 2 sisters were there. They waited for hours. The doctors came out eventually and said Raymond was unconscious. The stroke had been severe. There was significant brain damage. They were doing everything they could, but the prognosis wasn't good. Derek sat in a plastic chair in the hospital hallway and felt the world tilt. This was the call he had been dreading. This was the moment he had been trying to prevent. And it had happened anyway. The Kubota hadn't rolled. There hadn't been an accident. It was just his father's body giving out. And all the planning, all the worrying, all the secret tractor ordering hadn't mattered. Raymond was dying. Raymond Paulson died on March 22, 2023 at 6:14 in the morning. He never regained consciousness. Derek was at his bedside when it happened. His mother held Raymond's hand. His sisters cried. Derek just sat there, numb, staring at his father's face. The man who had farmed for 52 years. The man who had said he would die farming. And he had. Not in a dramatic accident, not in a tractor rollover, just a stroke in a field on a Tuesday morning. Quiet, sudden, final. The funeral was held 4 days later. Over 200 people attended. Raymond had been well known in the community, respected. After the service, people came up to Derek and said his father had been a good man, a hard worker, a dedicated farmer. Derek nodded and thanked them. But all he could think about was the tractor. The Massey Ferguson 4709 that was still being built in a factory somewhere. The tractor that was supposed to save his father's life. The tractor that his father would never see. 2 weeks after the funeral, Derek got a call from Todd at the dealership. Todd said he was calling with an update on the Massey Ferguson 4709 order. The tractor was finished. It was being shipped. Estimated arrival at the dealership was April 28th. Todd asked if Raymond wanted to schedule a pickup date. Derek felt his throat tighten. He said he needed to call Todd back. He hung up. He sat in his truck in the driveway of his father's farmhouse and stared at the empty machine shed. The Kubota was still parked inside, dusty and silent. Derek realized he had a problem. The tractor was coming. It was financed in his father's name, and his father was dead. Derek called Todd back the next day. He explained the situation. He said his father had passed away in March. Todd was quiet for a moment. Then he offered his condolences. He asked what Derek wanted to do about the tractor order. Derek said he didn't know. Todd said the order was legally binding. The financing had been approved. The tractor had been built. If Derek wanted to cancel, there would be penalties. And since the tractor was already en route, cancellation wasn't really an option. The dealership expected someone to take delivery. Todd asked if Derek wanted to take over the loan. Derek asked what that would require. Todd said Derek would need to apply for financing in his own name and buy out the contract. Or Derek could let the tractor go to the estate and have the estate settle the debt. But that would require going through probate, and it could take months. Derek said he would think about it. He hung up and felt a wave of panic. He had committed fraud. He had forged his father's signature on a $58,000 loan. And now his father was dead, and the tractor was arriving, and Derek was going to have to explain to someone how this had happened. Derek consulted with an attorney in early April. He explained what he had done. The attorney was blunt. Derek had committed forgery and loan fraud. If the dealership or the bank discovered it, they could press charges. Derek could face criminal prosecution. The attorney asked why Derek had done it. Derek said he was trying to protect his father. The attorney said that didn't matter. Intent didn't change the fact that it was a crime. The attorney said Derek had two options. Option 1, come clean. Tell the dealership what he had done, face the consequences, and hope they didn't press charges. Option 2, take over the loan himself, pay for the tractor, and never tell anyone. That way, the debt gets settled, the dealership gets paid, and no one digs into the details. Derek asked what would happen if he chose option 1. The attorney said he could end up with a criminal record, fines, possibly jail time. Derek asked what would happen if he chose option 2. The attorney said he would own a tractor he didn't need and couldn't afford, but he would avoid legal trouble. Derek thought about it for a week. In the end, he chose option 2. He couldn't risk a criminal record. He had a family. He had a job. He couldn't go to jail over a tractor, even if the tractor had been bought with good intentions. Derek applied for financing in his own name in late April. His credit wasn't great, but the bank approved him. The interest rate was higher, 8.9% instead of 7.8%. The monthly payment was $1,210. Derek signed the papers. The dealership transferred the contract. On April 28, 2023, the Massey Ferguson 4709 arrived at Horizon Agricultural Equipment. Todd called Derek and said it was ready for pickup. Derek drove to Brookings. He walked into the dealership lot and saw it sitting there, bright red, perfect paint, factory-fresh tires. The cab gleamed in the afternoon sun. It was everything Derek had imagined. Modern, safe, comfortable. Exactly what his father had needed. And his father would never sit in it. Todd walked Derek through the controls, showed him how to operate the cab functions, handed him the keys. Derek climbed into the seat. The cab smelled like new plastic and rubber. The digital display lit up when he turned the key. The engine started with a smooth, quiet hum. Everything about it was better than the old Kubota. Everything about it was designed to make farming easier and safer. Derek sat in the cab and felt nothing but emptiness. He drove the Massey Ferguson 4709 off the lot and hauled it back to his father's farm on a trailer. He parked it in the machine shed next to the Kubota. The two tractors sat side by side, the old one that had carried his father for 17 years, the new one that was supposed to carry him for the next 10. Derek stood in the shed and looked at them both, and he realized the new one was never going to replace the old one, because the person who was supposed to drive it was gone. Derek kept his father's farm. He inherited it through the estate, 320 acres, the house, the equipment, everything. His mother didn't want to live there anymore. His sisters didn't want to farm. It all went to Derek. He quit his job as an electrician in June 2023. He moved his family to the farm. His wife wasn't happy about it, but Derek felt like he owed it to his father. Someone had to keep the land working. Someone had to make sure 52 years of work didn't go to waste. Derek started farming. He used the Massey Ferguson 4709. He sold the Kubota at auction for $8,500. The Massey Ferguson ran perfectly. It was everything the salesman had promised. Smooth, efficient, easy to operate. The cab was comfortable. The controls were intuitive. Derek could run it for 12 hours without feeling worn out the way his father used to look after a day on the Kubota. The machine was objectively better in every way. But every time Derek climbed into the cab, he thought about why he had bought it. He thought about the forgery. He thought about the plan. He thought about the scene he had imagined, where his father would see the tractor for the first time and be surprised and maybe a little angry, but ultimately grateful. That scene never happened. Instead, Derek was farming alone, sitting in a cab his father never saw, making payments on a machine that was supposed to be a gift. The payments were brutal: $1,210 a month, $14,520 a year. Derek's first year farming, he netted $18,000 after expenses. The tractor payment ate most of it. His second year, 2024, commodity prices dropped. He netted $11,000. The tractor payment was still $1,210 a month, whether he made money or not. Derek started to resent the machine. It wasn't the tractor's fault. The Massey Ferguson 4709 was doing exactly what it was built to do. It was reliable, it was efficient, it never broke down, but it was also a constant reminder of the worst decision Derek had ever made. Every payment felt like penance. Every time he sat in the cab, he felt the weight of his father's absence. The tractor had been purchased out of love, out of fear, out of a desperate need to protect someone Derek couldn't protect. And now it was just a debt, a monthly obligation, a machine that worked perfectly but felt wrong every time he used it. Derek's wife asked him in the fall of 2024 why he didn't just sell the Massey Ferguson and buy something cheaper. Derek said he couldn't. She asked why not. Derek didn't have a good answer. The truth was complicated. Selling the tractor felt like admitting the whole thing had been a mistake. It felt like giving up on the idea that he had been trying to do the right thing. As long as Derek kept the Massey Ferguson, as long as he kept making the payments, he could tell himself that the tractor had a purpose, that it was serving the farm, that his father's land was being worked with equipment that honored the intention behind the purchase, even if the execution had been fraudulent and the outcome had been tragic. Selling it would strip away that narrative. It would leave Derek with nothing but the truth. He had forged his father's name, bought a tractor his father never wanted, and ended up in debt for a machine that existed only because Derek couldn't accept that some things are beyond control. By the spring of 2025, Derek had made 24 payments on the Massey Ferguson 4709, $29,040. He still owed $34,000. He was halfway through the loan. The tractor had 1,700 hours on it. It ran as well as the day he picked it up. No mechanical issues, no failures. It was a good machine. Everyone who saw it said so. Other farmers at the co-op asked Derek about it. They said it looked like a solid tractor. They asked if he liked it. Derek always said yes. He said it was reliable. He said it made the work easier. He never told them the real story. He never told them that the tractor had been ordered in a dead man's name. He never told them about the forgery. He never told them that every time he climbed into the cab, he thought about his father slumped over the wheel of the Kubota, alone in a field, dying while Derek was at work 40 minutes away, completely unaware. The Massey Ferguson was supposed to prevent that, but it hadn't. It had arrived 2 months too late, and now Derek was paying for it, literally, every month, for 5 years. Derek's mother visited the farm in June 2025. She hadn't been back much since Raymond died. It was too hard for her, but she came for Derek's son's birthday party. After the party, she walked out to the machine shed. Derek followed her. She stood in front of the Massey Ferguson 4709 and stared at it. She asked Derek when he had bought it. Derek said he bought it in early 2023. She asked why. Derek said he thought the farm needed it. She asked if Raymond had known about it. Derek paused. He said no. His mother nodded. She said it was a beautiful tractor. She said Raymond would have liked it. Derek didn't say anything. His mother reached out and touched the fender. She said Raymond had always been stubborn about equipment. He never wanted to spend money on new things. She said maybe if he had been in a tractor like this, with a better cab and more comfort, he wouldn't have been so exhausted all the time. Maybe he would have taken better care of himself. Maybe the stroke wouldn't have happened. Derek felt his throat close up. His mother didn't know what she was saying. She didn't know that Derek had thought the exact same thing, that the tractor had been bought specifically to save Raymond's life, that Derek had broken the law to try to make it happen, and that it hadn't mattered. His mother walked back to the house. Derek stood in the shed alone with the Massey Ferguson. He climbed into the cab, he sat in the seat, he put his hands on the steering wheel, and he thought about his father's hands on the wheel of the Kubota, the last thing Raymond had touched before the stroke, the last machine he had operated, the last moment of his farming life. Derek wondered if his father had felt it coming, if there had been a moment of pain or fear or awareness before everything went dark. He wondered if Raymond had thought about the farm, about the land, about Derek. The Massey Ferguson's cab was silent, climate-controlled, comfortable, safe, everything Derek had wanted for his father, and his father had died in a rattling, loud, uncomfortable cab 40 feet away. The distance between those two machines was 8 years and $52,000, and it was also the distance between intention and reality, between what Derek had tried to do and what had actually happened. Derek made the June 2025 payment on the Massey Ferguson 4709, $1,210. He made the July payment, the August payment, the September payment. He would make 36 more payments after that, 3 more years. By the time the loan was paid off, it would be 2028. The tractor would be 5 years old. Derek would be 46. His father would have been dead for 5 years. The Massey Ferguson would still be running. Still reliable, still doing the work, and Derek would still be thinking about the signature he forged, the plan that failed, the father he couldn't save, the tractor that arrived too late. Every farmer who saw the Massey Ferguson 4709 on Derek's farm thought it was a smart purchase, a good investment, a sign that Derek was running a modern, efficient operation. No one knew the truth. No one knew that the tractor was a gravestone, a monument to a son's desperate attempt to control something he couldn't control, a machine purchased in secret, financed through fraud, delivered after death, and paid for in guilt. The Massey Ferguson wasn't just a tractor. It was a confession, a reminder, a burden, and Derek would carry it for 3 more years, $1,210 a month, every month, until the loan was paid. And even then, the tractor would still be there, red and gleaming and perfect. A machine his father never saw, a gift that was never given, a plan that ended in a hospital room on a March morning, with Raymond's hand going cold in Derek's grip, and a tractor still being built in a factory somewhere, too late to matter, too late to save anyone, too late to be anything except a mistake that worked perfectly and meant nothing.